We're trying this again. This is part deux of whatever we're calling this today. Oh, and all my, and now I see I've been broadcasting the whole time with Patreon. Yeah, KevinlyFather.com, Cash App, KevinlyFather. Okay, yeah, that's all there. Uh, as we pause here and try and get this going again, hopefully people will find the new stream. Um, that was my fault. It wasn't the internet's fault. I'm charging my phone. My phone is connected. Hi, Shelly. My phone is connected by a big red wire. That big red wire, when I checked my phone, it managed to bump the dongle. And then the dongle came out slightly. And even though my computer also has the Wi-Fi, is also connected to the correct router, it didn't like it. It crashed. So let's get back at it. Before we get going, I want to make sure more people are in here. But so happy with my birthday, which was Saturday. So many people were so generous. I wanted to raise $450 to send a young lady to, young lady sounds weird, a young woman, a girl, through high school in Kenya. We did this 2 years ago. You guys came up with the money to make that happen. So great. I didn't think it was going to happen this year as quickly. We raised $633, more than 450, just on Facebook on Saturday, which is more than one young girl going to high school. That's on the way to 2, and maybe we'll try and meet that. Maybe tomorrow or something. I'll do a live stream and we'll try and get to 900 and meet that goal. The nice thing about Facebook is they don't take any fees out from what they say. That has yet to be seen, but we'll find out. Again, we're broadcasting the second part of the broadcast. The first part of the broadcast ended in disaster. So far, so good with this one. Hi, Anne. How are you feeling? Um, Anne, you can tell us whatever you want to tell us about what your condition is. But the bottom line is Anne is out of intensive care, and that's fantastic news. So, Anne, you take it easy. Please, everybody, no arguing with Anne. Nothing but flowers for Anne today. Let's get back to the topic at hand. The raid on, it wasn't a raid, the warrant served on Mar-a-Lago.
Louder than love. It's certainly
That's
not
fair.
as vulnerable, and it's the currency that most people are using in their politics now. You know, I look at someone like Stephen Colbert. He's so unfunny. Yeah. You know, when he was doing a night.
Well, funny is objective, and Stephen Colbert is objectively, super objectively, very, very funny. I mean, he has the CBS late night time show. So, like, I don't know what I'm putting together a talk show and time slot, but yeah, it's super funny. Ann says, I'll be in intensive care for a few more days. Sure be missing you all. Well, come back and see us anytime.
Impression of a conservative news host. He was actually kind of funny, but now it's like, you know, that's it. That's where you're landing. He did not stick the landing there. The thing that I found entertaining about this was the former president.
I don't know how many Emmys you need to win for best comedy variety show before you've stuck the landing. By the way, John Oliver keeps beating Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert keeps getting nominated. I'm sure he's won a couple for Late Night with Stephen Colbert. But yeah, totally, Kennedy. By the way, when I had lunch with Kennedy, seems like a very nice person. Not funny. I don't remember her being funny. I remember her being weird, like really weird, and talking about the topics that America wants to talk about. But it wasn't. But she was very nice. Just not, you know, everybody subjectively knows what funny is for them. But for her, I don't think she found me funny, which puts me in the same basket as Stephen Colbert. Very, very good basket to be in.
President saying two things. One, he said, "Give me back my stuff," which I thought took presidential nards, and I was entertained by that. And the other was,
yeah, Kennedy was an MYV host. An MTV host.
The claim that he declassified everything that was at his house.
Doesn't matter, and you can't.
So I don't know if that's true, but, you know,
doesn't matter.
He did lean into it, which I respect.
First off, not true. A president can't just wave a magic wand and declassify everything. There's a process, and it has to be proved. There are some things you can't declassify. According to the Nuclear Secrets Act, after we first created a nuclear weapon, And then we took out in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the late 40s and early 50s, and then continuing on. But right away, Congress realized the president should not leak any of this. Right now, we're the only superpower in the world. We don't want the Soviets to have this. The Chinese were not too big of a threat at the time, but they saw it down the road. We don't want to share this technology. Eventually, people are going to figure it out, but we should have it so that nobody can declassify this in and of by themselves. And that's what they did. A president cannot declassify nuclear secrets. A president cannot put lives in danger by declassifying sources, for instance. A president couldn't just, oh, what's the list of knocks that we have? These are people working for the CIA undercover that would deny that, like, we don't even know who they are, that sort of knock. Spies, basically. Well, I'm just going to send that list out. The president did. The former President Trump just sent out the warrant with the FBI names on them, and those particular FBI agents are now receiving death threats. Those names should have been. Now, the president, yes, has the right, once you're served with a warrant, you could release it to anybody you want to, but you should redact the names. You don't want to dox FBI agents, right? But he did. I believe those were redacted. It must have been redacted in the court when the court released them. Actually, at that point, it didn't matter. I don't know whether they redacted or not because the warrant was already out there. But that's what you're supposed to do.
No,
Rachel should be covering this tonight, I would imagine. Yeah. Your nephew's an FBI agent. Good to hear, Ann.
Dr. Siegel, having interviewed the president at a time when the country was so tender, it was the height, the very beginning of the pandemic. And
he interviewed him several times. What are you talking about?
I remember that outdoor interview that you both had. You
Person, woman, man, camera, TV.
kind of leaned in. The president sort of dialing back to that moment.
Is Kaylee Macaroni pregnant again?
With his statements to Fox News today, I thought, saying he wants to do what's best for the country, that we've gotten too hot in our rhetoric.
Yeah, Donald Trump is saying, look at the enemy of the people. They're all the enemy of the people. Hillary Clinton should be in jail. Joe Biden doesn't even know where he is. Doesn't even know he's alive. But the rhetoric has gotten too hot. It's an invasion. Your Second Amendment is under siege. Never be in doubt that their Second Amendment is under siege. They're coming for your Second Amendment rights, people. If they did it to me, they're not invading my house. They're invading your house. They're coming for all of your stuff. But the rhetoric has gotten overblown. So please, everyone, I just need you to calm down. And I declassify everything between my hands. Everything here. This is declassified. You're declassified. You're all declassified.
Which is exactly how he came across in July 2020. And Kaylee will tell you that he was completely unscripted. That charm, that he doesn't always dot his I's or cross his T's. Not the teleprompter president that we have now. Not the teleprompter.
Trump reads from a teleprompter regularly. This man is a doctor. Come on, Dr. Siegel.
Prompter president. But I would say in this case, isn't it obvious, and Kennedy was just saying this, and Emily was just saying this, that he's being pummeled?
This particular doctor who knows the health effects of obesity, he's really busting out of that suit jacket.
The American public doesn't like it when someone's pummeled. Question for the FBI, question for Merrick Garland. What did you...
Okay, doesn't like it. The American public doesn't like it when someone's pummeled. That doesn't even make any sense. Wait, you speak for all the American public? Doctor, woman, man, camera, TV, COVID? Tom says they took his Russian and North Korean passports. Yeah. Let's just dig up. Let's see if I can make this work. DMs from Marcy about the passports. Let me look at this. I don't have my normal amount of monitors here, so this is all flying kind of by the seat of my pants. Let's see. The third passport that Trump may be mentioning is either his maroon-covered official passport that is granted to U.S. government officials or a foreign passport, although it is unclear if the former president holds dual citizenship to another country. He shouldn't. Perhaps Germany, but they took his family's citizenship away decades ago. So I don't know. So there you go. The official passport is typical issued to Americans going abroad for U.S. government service, but who are not in the diplomatic corps, like active duty military service members and their families. Okay, the official. Why are our passports not official passports? I've had 3 different kind of passports, but one wasn't really a pass. Anyway, that's something I'm not supposed to discuss openly. So let's go back to the doctor, woman, cameraman, TV doctor.
You have in mind? Tell us already. Why did you jump so many steps legally, and again, you know this, legally, to go raiding a former president's
It wasn't a raid and no steps were jumped. This is a doctor, by the way, not a lawyer.
home rather than a
And not a good doctor.
subpoena or calling him on the phone or something? What were you looking for? And if you were looking...
Many calls were made. Discussions with the lawyers were had. Lawyers apparently signed documents, and I haven't seen those documents, apparently signed documents saying, we don't have any of the government's property here, which was a lie. There are no classified documents here, apparently. Again, I haven't seen the document. The document has been released publicly, so far as I know. These are from sources. And so the government said, yeah, you do, and said to the judge, hey, they're claiming they don't have any of the stuff. The judge is like, well, they probably do, because it's unaccounted for. Go take a look. Leslie says, wait, isn't MMA a very popular sport people love to watch? Lots of pummeling. You got me there. But didn't he say plummeling? That's what I was commenting on. I thought he said plummeling.
for something, where is it?
Yeah, it's the jumping of the steps that the American people are going to be sensitive to.
No, the American people don't know the steps, and there were no steps jumped. Okay, he refused to give you the documents, and then he denied that the documents were there. Why did you have to jump steps? Why'd you have to? The guy who's fighting all the subpoenas? Why?
And by the way, one more thing. President Bill Clinton, when he left the White House, took $28,000 worth of furniture
that
his wife, right?
They had to get that interior down.
I haven't been able to pinpoint that. I've heard this. President Obama has 33 million documents, and they belong to the National Archives, and some of them are in Chicago. The National Archives is in charge of all of that. As far as the Clinton furniture, I haven't found a reliable source that actually tells what's going on. But often the White House furniture will be changed as the new administration comes in. It's probably something to do with that. Apparently, the Clinton people took a bunch of W's off the keyboards when George W. Bush came in. I don't know if that was true or not, but that was a rumor at the time. And that was long before I had access to Snopes.
Decoration. They weren't leaving without that. I do want to get this. I mentioned him, Matt Whitaker. Last hour was on the Faulkner Focus. Can we just watch a little bit of what he had to say?
The FBI's extraordinary action here, unprecedented, never happened before in American history.
Right, because a president has never dreamt, hi Rusty, has never dreamt of doing something like this. There has never been a cause for the FBI to enter a president's residence looking for documents. That just it's inconceivable until Trump.
Is really what raised the temperature in the first place. And I think many people, including myself, need to talk about how we need to lower the temperature. But I think transparency is what's going to lower the temperature. We need to understand how.
Yeah, which is why the DOJ came out and said, release the warrant. We've asked to release the warrant. Trump could have released it the moment he got it.
How is the FBI going to process, and how is the Department of Justice legally going to analyze things that...
And by the way, they did release it. They released it before the courts released it. So, in fact, Trump released the warrant, but only just a couple of hours before the court was going to release it.
Could be attorney-client privilege, things that could have maybe been declassified, and ultimately...
Still government property. Again, the classification means nothing.
What were the mitigating steps so that when they executed a search warrant, that was the least intrusive means that they had available to them? There's
no rule that says the government can't be intrusive. There really isn't.
More questions.
Technically, he could register for British citizenship through his mom, Mary, but wouldn't pass the good character test required.
Today, probably than there has been in the last week.
Well, and what I said to Matthew Whitaker is that's because we have just a little bit more information than we did last week, and it didn't help. We didn't get out everything that we need to know.
That's right, just a little bit.
Of course we didn't get everything we need to know. It's the warrant, not the charges. And the FBI doesn't release stuff like that because they don't want to besmirch a person who ends up not being charged because that person at that point is still innocent. You don't go releasing that we're investigating that somebody because that somebody then is always under suspicion, especially not a public figure. The FBI didn't tell us about this. Trump told us about the warrant in Mar-A-Lago.
More information, and the word he used there, which has been used often, repetitively, but importantly, is the word unprecedented. This has never before in history happened, the raid of a
Right. Again, there's never been a reason to before.
Former president's home. And because of that, I think there is a special burden on DOJ, a special burden on the FBI to give us facts. The American public deserves more facts than just the subpoena.
That is not how it works, and be very, very careful what you wish for, because those facts will be damning. Judge, you bet your life that a magistrate judge will not sign off on a warrant of the former president's house unless the evidence is extremely compelling.
They deserve the affidavit. I applaud the bipartisan effort from Marco Rubio and from Senator Warren, one a Democrat, one a Republican. You've talked about this on your show, saying we want to view the classified documents that were obtained from Mar-a-Lago. Rubio going a step further, though, and making this point. He said an investigation of a high-profile political figure is
That's not releasing to the public. That's the Senate Intel Committee.
Neither apolitical nor by the book if the investigators are leaking sensationalized claims to the media on a daily basis. We saw this drip, drip, drip. The Washington Post report about nuclear material, New York Times report over the weekend about the Trump team's communications. Merrick Garland, the very first words out of his mouth on Thursday were, "I will not communicate through leaks." So I hope the same way they're looking for the leaker at the Supreme Court, he's looking for the leaker in DOJ and FBI, because if you want to further undermine the confidence of half the country, continue the drip, drip, drip of leaks.
Do you think they're looking for either?
No, I don't.
Okay, that's the problem.
I don't.
Right.
Because I don't think it's
They are.
political. So.
Well, and we're 85
But those people that are leaking are probably pretty smart and have probably covered their tracks.
days out from the midterm elections. So if you wanted to make it look political, you probably schedule this right about now.
That's right.
Right? Your last thought.
Yeah, just that, this weekend we have leaders.
Again, Trump is not running for office. He's not registered to run for president. So this is not. If they had raided, for example, Carrie Lake, who's running for governor in Arizona, if they raid her house, that's one thing. The FBI has sort of a loosey-goosey policy of don't mess with things 6 months before an election. You don't want to have an effect on the outcome. But then they come out in June, July and say, oh, Hillary Clinton, she did have classified documents, but no reason a prosecutor would take that case. Not saying that she's innocent, not saying that she's guilty, just saying there's no case here. We cannot prove intent of the Espionage Act, which is why the Espionage Act is full of holes. But you do have to prove intent, especially if you're going to put somebody to death, right? So Hillary Clinton, they let it slide, but then they opened up the investigation and that became public 9 days before the election. And that's why Hillary Clinton lost.
Of two House committees on Saturday calling for there to be an immediate review and damage assessment to provide classified briefings to Congress about the potential harm done to national security based on the alleged contents of these documents retrieved. Remember, right after President Biden took office, he extinguished Mr. Trump's ability to receive the national security briefings that every former president gets. So I think there's such an immediate jump. We talk a lot about people jumping to conclusions. And here, the amount and the severity of it when dealing with a former president is shocking. And it seems like, to your point, every American has questions because what's next and who's next?
Yeah, I just.
Who's next? I would love to know who's next. It's not going to be me. Probably not going to be you. It's okay, America.
I really can't believe that we were at a point where the White House and others still think that the other half of the people who voted don't count.
Right.
The 70.
What are you saying? No one is saying that, Harris. No one is saying that half the Americans don't count. First off, it's well less than half, by the way. But no one is saying that. That's not what anybody has in mind during this entire process. Because they want the FBI to break protocol?
5 million people who voted for the other guy apparently just don't count to them. Because if they did...
What?
I really can't believe that we were at a point where the White House and others still think that the other half of the people who voted don't count.
Harris is not usually this bad. Man, and she's kind of, her mouth looks funny today, like the way she's speaking. Just wonder if she's a little medicated or something today. I don't know. It's not a conspiracy theory. I'm just wondering.
Right.
Because she's not usually this bad. She's usually a little more fair than this.
75 million people who voted for the other guy apparently just don't count to them. Because if they did...
Like her top lip is not moving, but her bottom lip is. And she's got the weird tally light thing going on. I think she's a little bit influenced today. And who knows? She could have gone to the dentist this morning. I have no idea.
They'd be trying to explain this. All right, let's move. Coming up, Iran is speaking out about the brutal stabbing attack on author Salman Rushdie in New York State as the nation's media praises the accused attacker. Next.
What? No, nobody praised the attacker. Oh God. Let's jump past that. Let's see what this is about. Yeah, here we go. So most of the shows on Fox, there's like a news program here, then a news program here, and then there's other programs like Outnumbered, like The Five, like Hannity, like Tucker, like Laura Ingraham. The meat of the Fox lineup is mostly about just attacking other news stations. That's what they do.
The suspect, identified as 24-year-old New Jersey man Hadi Matar, has been charged with second-degree attempted murder. And while police are still investigating the motive, Rushdie has been banned in Iran since 1988 for his book, The Satanic Verses, that many Muslims consider to be blasphemous. Iran's late leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini, called for Rushdie's death and offered $3 million if anyone killed him. This morning, Iran denied any responsibility for the attack, but did blame Rushdie for it.
Salman Rushdie exposed himself to popular anger and fury through insulting the sacred of Islam and trespassing red lines of over 1.5 billion Muslims, and also red lines of followers of all divine religions. We don't consider anyone deserving reproach, blame, or even condemnation, except for Rushdie himself and his supporters.
And the country's newspapers are praising Rushdie's attacker. One headline even says,
Okay, wait. So it's the Iranian newspapers that we're upset about praising the attacker?
quote, 1,000 bravos, and calls the suspect brave and dutiful and describes Salman Rushdie as evil.
Okay.
Dr. Siegel, you know Salman Rushdie, apparently he's up and awake.
So that was the tease? The media is defending the attacker? The Iranian media.